Hi everyone, welcome back to our latest episode. And today, me and Matej here again, bringing you something fresh from the oven. And today we're going to talk about something very interesting. It's called how to keep distractions aside while coaching. By now, some of you may be, beginning your coaching journey. Some of you have been coaching for a while, and you're thinking, how do I keep all the distractions? And what do we mean by distractions? It could be, things on your mind, something that's happening at home, projects, maybe a lineup of clients coming up, or many things that's on your mind, or maybe in your heart, or in something that's confusing you. So how do you handle that? And that's what we're going to discuss today.
Very
Okay.
cool topic.
Yeah, it's a very good topic. So let's kind of kickstart this. And I know Matej right now it's traveling. So with your busy schedule, moving around, how do you kind of like know how to keep up with all these different things, and still stay focused and on your journey towards where you want to be?
Exactly right. I'm traveling and I'm now in one hotel room, and next week I will be in another. And sometimes I find it challenging actually. Let's say that I have like poor Wi-Fi. That's an external factor, right? So this external factor will like trigger some emotion,
Mm,
for example. Then I will be emotional. Then I will be like, oh, no, it's like I would feel some frustration, or I would feel like, oh, what if I lose the connection or something, right? So I would feel stress actually.
mm,
I would feel it. But what helps me, and what I often do with my like clients, also like in sport, I remember we did a lot of um, like I would say welcoming emotions.
mm,
So I would actually pay attention of this feeling in my body. Where do I feel the stress? Right? Because very often it's actually in your head, like in the midbrain, you have this space where it's like space for processing our emotions. But sometimes I would use some tricks to actually bring the, I would say, attention more into cortex, into logical side of our brains. So for example, now as I'm talking to you, I would maybe pay attention on the flower
mm,
in your wall, right? I would just bring attention and focus on something to bring my brain into the logical, like very tangible, or how to say, reasonable state. For example,
mm,
I'm now looking at the fan here. It's very green color. It's very like it's rounded shape and very strong green color. So you see, I'm not emotional anymore. I'm bringing attention on something like very practical to say.
mm.
That's one way of
Bring to the intention.
bring the intention, yeah.
Yeah.
Bring the attention and focus on. Another one is I would do the time management right. It's just like if I can't, I would say sorry. I would be authentic and honest with my clients or whatever. I would say I would try to like organize my day that at least I don't make full of myself or some promise that I cannot keep, right?
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, and I guess that is also very powerful because I think one of the ways to kind of keep distractions is creating that buffer. Because sometimes when we schedule things too tightly, we don't have enough buffer to
Mhm,
give that little pause for
mhm,
any disruptions, right? Let's say you schedule something, you might want to give yourself a little buffer, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes buffer, or 30 minutes buffer, or if you know you're going to have a very long day. Giving yourself that little buffer just to rest, to just refresh yourself. I think that those would be very good. And I think one thing that I notice is that many times when we are so engaged into the coaching process that we lose track of time. And because we got distracted by the content of the client, right? Like the client sees something interesting. Maybe the client was sharing about um, a latest food that they're on, and then somehow you love food as well, and you got caught up in that content of the client, and then without knowing it, it's just going down into many different rabbit holes. So in those situations, how would you manage those situations when you face those times, like getting so distracted by the content of the client?
mhm. It's the question how to stay objective, right? Because
Mm,
very often, like you said, we are going into the story of the client and going to like being subjective.
mm,
And it works for me well is it's not like okay, during the conversation, I would like pay attention about like where I am at the moment. Like, okay, you can observe yourself and just try to be objective, see yourself from far. But one thing that helps me a lot is meditation, a part of my session. So, for example, when I meditate during the day, maybe I meditate every day like 10, 15 minutes, or even if it's like 2 minutes, for me, when it comes to meditation, it's not about being at peace or thinking about nothing, empty mind. No, but it's really about trying to focus on one thing and then catch myself as a detective, like a detective, when my mind goes somewhere. So, for example, let's say that I'm focusing on my breathing, on something I would say very physical, let's say breathing, right? And then, or maybe I think about something, let's say visualizing my future or happy space or something, and then I get some negative thoughts or some destructive thoughts, and then I try to catch myself that I'm like going for that thought, and then just bring the focus back on my breathing or whatever my intention is. Because you see, it's like training, any training, let's say sport training. We cannot expect that we are going to be good at squat if we won't do 10,000 repetitions, right? So if I'm going to practice 10,000 times how to catch myself and bring attention back, then it will be much more familiar and much easier to do that in the coaching session, if that makes sense. So it's not just like within the session, but it's also how you prepare yourself for that session, how you practice, how you train yourself to be a good coach. And like you said, a buffer, that's amazing actually. I have few songs, like 2-3 minute songs. Some of them are a bit more like chill. There is one song like 3D. It's like very nice song. I like to use it. Like even if I have 1 minute before I would put that song, it's just to like the center, like to center
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I like the thought of like being able to center yourself, setting the intentions for the session, and I think that's really good also to keep both person focused on the session, especially when you're coaching someone because you're bringing two people together and you're trying to help each other to just stay focused on the outcome. For example, the intention is for me to help you to get to where you want to be. Right. And we say, hey, if there's anything on your mind that you like to clear it, I will invite you right now to come and step into this space together, putting all the distractions aside. So I think the preparation is really important, like what you mentioned. So preparation before entering the conversation, and then in the conversation, if distractions were to occur, how to kind of refocus back on the intention so that you catch yourself and then get back on that. One of the tricks we always tell people, I said, even if at any point of time, you get lost, right? It's always going back to the outcome, going back to the intention of the session, right? Get back to that focus. So if you get distracted by the rabbit hole, you forgot what you were saying, you forget what's the topic, and then just invite a client and say, hey, I think we've explored quite a little bit. Let's revisit the outcome of the session today, and then just get objective, because at the end of the day, coaching conversations, it's not a chit chat session. Right, there's an outcome, there's an objective, there is a goal, there's a performance that we're trying to drive at, and so that's why we need to move the conversation in a way that is helping the client to feel that momentum that's just going right, and rather than just having a long chat with the client. Yeah, I think that really helps the client. And in fact, one of the things I think about is like what you mentioned, how do we prepare ourselves, how do we practice this? So many times coaches do not practice, right? Very much like going to the gym, or exercising. If you want to be able to, run a marathon, you can't just visualize and run the marathon the next day. You got to practice. You got to like start with 1 kilometer, practice 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, right? Start practicing, getting your body accustomed, attuned to that, and then trying out the full one. And you got to try a few times before your body can get used to it. In a very same way for getting yourself away from distraction as well. It's that you got to kind of sit down, simulate as if you're having a coaching conversation, and then catch yourself when you kind of get distracted easily, and then pull yourself back, and then getting that practice in. I think those will be very important elements as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One thing that I like in this last part that you're sharing is practice out of the session. Because you see, coaching as a like modality or as a meaningful conversation, it's actually everywhere. You can practice within like every day when you're talking to the
People,
taxi driver,
yeah.
to your like partner, like to your colleague. You can
Mm,
practice it anywhere. For example, when you were sharing things, I was thinking about the silence, right?
yep.
Like you know how many coaches, even me, often when I begin, I was like, wow, I was so afraid of the silence, right? And then I use it as such a so powerful tool, and that is also a great space to practice being present in the moment, because there are so many questions for beginner coaches when you need to use silence. It's like,
Mm,
oh, what should I ask next? Or, oh, it's so awkward, or whatever, right?
yeah, 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 and just keep going at it. I think that's the key thing, right? Which is even if you stop getting that practice in, right, you just got to start again. Just start again. Don't be afraid if you kind of go backwards, go into relapse and then come back again. And I think many of us also have had this experience before. We started on well. We had this great journey going in. We had this very, very positive progress, then only to regress.
Mm.
And then we kind of give up, right? So rather than just giving up, I think one of the things to think about distraction is practicing that, watching, so for example, watching a TV, and then you notice that you got distracted by your phone, right? How you get back that focus, how you, even having conversations with a friend, and you get distracted by so many different things, pulling yourself back into it. And one of the other practical things to think about is maybe perhaps getting and engaging a coach yourself, or a mentor coach yourself, so that you can get someone from a third person perspective to provide you that additional perspective and the learning. And I think that will also enrich your overall awareness of when you tend to veer off, and so you can use that to enhance your learning. See, even the top performers, top athletes, as they're preparing for the Olympics this year as well, they all have coaches, right? I rarely or have not really come across any Olympic athletes going there without any coach. Uh, Most of them, right? I think all of them should have a coach. Uh, yeah.
I think every coach should also have a coach. Like I
Yes.
tell you something, I have so many things on my list. I want to build this business. I want to travel that place. I want to sort out this relationship. How can I do that on my own,
Mm,
alone? I cannot do that alone. I really cannot. I mean, I can, but it will be a mess. I can,
mm,
if I want to perform at top level, if I want to have clarity, if I want to be present, if I want to make sure that I see blind spots, I'm engaging coach. I'm engaging coach very often. I
mm,
engage coach very often. Um, and I would really recommend that to everyone. Seriously.
mm. Yes, yes. I think that's an important element. Engage a coach. Find a coach that resonates with you, right? It doesn't have to be a powerful, you know, you just commit to someone that you can trust, that you can open up yourself to, right?
Mm.
The coach doesn't have to be like a super celebrity coach, but find a coach that you can trust to open up, that can hold you accountable. I think that's the most important, to hold you and to help you keep committed through that journey, that pathway all the way through. And in fact, like what we do here on every weekly basis, for me and Mate to organize like a session to kind of talk about things, and we say, hey, let's just keep committed, even if it's just a half an hour call, let's just do it, and then let's keep it going. And I think that's something that's really really exciting as well when we kind of reflect on what this whole topic is about, like why distraction is so important. Because today we are distracted by so many things online, the space, media, even on LinkedIn today. It's just flooded with it's LinkedIn today. It's almost like Facebook, right? It's just flooded with lots of things,
Mhm.
and people are just trying to chase the likes, the numbers of views. And today, you have many LinkedIn influencers just promoting, say, "Oh, I got so many views. I'm the best in engagement and stuff." But true engagement is not in the number count, but in just having that one conversation at a time, impacting
Yes.
the life one at a time.
I feel like this space that we are having, it's also for myself. Like people would ask me, why are you doing that? Thank you for like sharing your information or knowledge or whatever. Okay, you're welcome. But at the same time, I want to thank me to give myself this space where I practice being present without distractions,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the
Yeah,
question would be for our listeners, how do you practice being present,
Mm.
right?
And also, how do you practice and stay committed to the practice? Yeah, because it's one thing to practice, I've seen many coaches say, oh, I learned this new technique, I learned that new technique. But they practice one or two times, but they're not committed to the practice,
Mm,
right? And they say, oh, I want something new, I want a new framework, I want to do something. No. In fact, you find that many, many top professionals, they go back to the same thing, right? If after learning the bench press, I'm not just going to say, okay, I've learned it. Let's do something else. Let's do the inverse press, right?
mm,
Let's do something crazy. You still go back to the basics. You still go
mm,
back to the same thing, right? Same thing for any kind of industries or sport. The chef who's cutting the vegetables,
yes.
that's always that way of cutting. The
Mm,
chef is not going to tie himself with some balloons, fly into the air and chop some vegetables,
mm,
right? There's always going back to that foundation. I think that's where many coaches are too eager to learn many, many different techniques, but not going back to the foundation, which is just practicing, right?
mm.
Practicing, committing to the practice, and then improving one step at a time. Yeah.
Basic.
Mm. Very nice. Wow.
Things.
What a powerful session today again. And, if you like this episode, give us a thumbs up. Follow me and Mateo on our channels as we bring to you on a weekly basis something very exciting, insightful, practical insights into coaching, regardless of what industries or specialization in coaching. Yeah. So stay tuned for our next episode as we catch you about coaching insights with me and Mateo.